All right. Well, good evening. Welcome to today's Tulane Family Programs webinar, Freeman Study Abroad 2025. First, we really want to thank you for your patience and your grace as we've navigated unexpectedly having to reschedule from last week. So thank you very much for that. We are recording and we'll send out the recording as well as the PowerPoint to each of you. So participants' microphones are muted and the chat is disabled. We will use the Q&A feature in your controls to submit questions. Some questions may be answered throughout the webinar. However, we'll leave room at the end to get to any questions that we haven't answered yet. And so just using that Q&A function. So I'd like to start off by introducing tonight's panelists. Mary Hicks is the director of the Freeman Study Abroad and Exchange Office here at the Freeman Business School. And with Mary, we have Lauren Bix, who's the senior program coordinator in the Freeman Study Abroad and Exchange Office. So welcome everyone, and I'll turn it over to Mary.
Thank you, Kat. All right, so welcome everyone to the Freeman Abroad Know Before They Go family support webinar for our students who are heading abroad very soon. So I will be presenting. Lauren Bix will be assisting me mostly with the questions and answers. And Kat is our gracious moderator today. So our agenda for today is, we've got a lot of ground to cover. Basically, we're going to try to go through as much sort of critical information to get our students as ready for the 2025 semester as we can. But before we get into the, nitty gritty of all the details, I just want to say, congratulations to your student. And congratulations to you for helping them to this point where they're preparing to embark on this really incredible experience. Your presence here shows how much you love them and you want the best for them and you want to support them. We really try to provide as much information to you and to the students to support them. The learning curve here is huge. They're getting ready to move to a totally different country. They're having to apply for student visas. They're learning how to navigate a new educational system. This really helps them to take massive strides in their maturity, their self-reliance, and cultural literacy. And this really does mean that it's pretty tough sometimes. And so sometimes families need to allow that student to be an adult and to make tough choices and navigate tough situations on their own, which in today's world, with the connectivity sometimes is difficult to do. And understanding when to step back or when to step in and help is really important as a family member. So hopefully by providing this information to you, that helps you to navigate that kind of gray area as a family member trying to support your student. We are very proud of them as they transition through this whole experience, and hopefully they'll come out really just growing and learning so much. All right, let's talk about a little bit about how Tulane Study Abroad works, our background. We are the Freeman Study Abroad office. So we service only Freeman students, so we're only business programs. And we work closely with the NTC Study Abroad office that's called OSA for Office of Study Abroad. OSA services all NTC students, which is all undergraduate students. We're sort of not an offshoot, but kind of an offshoot of their programs because we only service business students. Business students do have the choice to go on OSA programs in addition to the Freeman Abroad programs. Our Freeman Abroad programs are all business oriented and offer kind of a different level of support to students. But we have opened up some pre-approved OSA programs for business students, which I'll talk a bit about in another slide. But it's important to know that we're two separate offices and we have two separate systems. And so students sometimes get confused, and parents too, they don't know which office to call. Usually, if you call one office, we can redirect you to the other one, but it is good for parents as well as students to know which office they should contact first for their program. So our Freeman Abroad programs are all semester programs. They're bilateral direct enroll exchange programs, which means that we have partnerships with universities around the world, with business schools around the world, where we send and receive exchange students. So it's not a monetary exchange, it's a student to student exchange. So our students become students at the partner institution that they're attending, but they also maintain their status as a Tulane student here. Because they enroll directly with the partner institution, they are required to participate in the host institution's practices, such as enrollment, their academic calendar. They can participate in student organizations. They can avail themselves of support services. And some of our partners have housing, some don't. So it's important for the students to develop that identity with the host institution because they really are becoming a student there. We do, like I mentioned earlier, have some Freeman approved OSA programs. So those are programs that are administered by the NTC Office of Study Abroad, where we've found that they have enough business credits for our students to be able to go and get a full semester's worth of business credits. And so we do service those students. We basically help them with academic advising. We don't administer the programs. We're not over the programs administratively, but we do assist students with getting those business credits. The Freeman Abroad, so we're back to the Freeman Abroad exchange program benefits. This is not the OSA programs. The Freeman Abroad programs allow our students to study at top business schools internationally. We have some of our partners that are top 20 business schools in the world. The students can also take business classes that are not available at Tulane. That's one of the real benefits of studying abroad. They can transfer in anywhere from 12 to 18 business credits. The classes are offered in English at all of our partners. Most also allow students to study in the local language. So sometimes when our students have that language proficiency, they want to study in another language, but most of our students take their classes taught in English. Because the students maintain Tulane status, most financial aid and scholarships apply depending upon the terms. So each student should talk with the financial aid office to determine whether or not their financial aid package and how their financial aid package applies. Students also can maintain access to full Tulane support. This is, our emergency service through Crisis 24, our travel services, advising, success coaching, tutoring, counseling, all that stuff. Because they remain Tulane students, they can avail themselves of the Tulane services throughout their exchange. Some things that we don't do: we do not apply for housing on behalf of students or assist students in finding housing. Each institution is different, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. We don't enroll students in classes at the host institutions. We cannot alter foreign transcripts that are received. And very importantly, we cannot intervene in a foreign country or a partner institution's policies and or procedures. So it's important that students are complying with local policies and procedures and laws and things like that when they go abroad. All right, so your student has applied, they've been accepted and offered a place. What's next? At this phase, they are generally reading a lot, they're researching a lot, and they're trying to prepare. So how do they know what to do next? They should consult their Freeman Abroad portal. So each of the students has access to the Freeman Abroad portal. They have a login through their Tulane login, and there are items that they need to read and mark as read or sign off on or submit documents. All of that information is in their Freeman Abroad portal. So it's really important that the students are looking at that Freeman Abroad portal and reading those materials. A lot of times students, well, human beings, I do it too. We see something that's got a lot of words on it and we just click and accept. We don't want students to do that. We want them to read the information that's in that portal because a lot of it is kind of critically important. And this is the phase that they're learning how to quote unquote adult. And that involves like reading the fine print sometimes. So at this point, students have been nominated to their host institutions. Most of them are working on what we call their secondary application. So once they apply to us, we offer them placement. They accept the placement. Actually, I'm going to explain nomination in the second slide. So I'm going to hop over to that. They accept placement. Then we send their information to the partner institution so that that institution can then matriculate the students. So some students need to just fill in some basic information online with the partner. Some students need to submit transcripts. Some students need to submit course enrollment requests at this point. Every institution is going to be different. So that nomination phase and the secondary application phase is where most of our students are at right now. And it's important for them to be paying attention to their emails from us, as well as paying attention to emails from the partner institution. Most students are going to receive a login from the partner institution. And so they're going to have to start checking that email in addition to their Tulane email. I know students get a lot of emails, but it really is important for them to start checking those very regularly. Most of our host institutions need to issue an official acceptance letter. That's that number 3 right there. That the student must then use to apply for a student visa. We'll talk about visas in a later slide, but that's an important part of this nomination and acceptance process is that the student receives acceptance from the partner institution. Some of our partners also, like I said, require students to enroll in classes. Some of them have them wait until later. It just depends on the program. All right, so let's talk a little bit about housing and travel. So like I said, we don't arrange for student housing by, our office does not do that. And many times students and parents want to start booking their housing and their travel as soon as they get that placement award. We generally suggest that students wait a little bit and get more information from the host institution before completing those arrangements and finding out more about what kind of housing is offered by the host institution. Some offer, some sort of combination of student housing, or maybe they have a housing office that helps students either apply for student housing or find independent housing. It really does depend upon the program. In general, we have that information on our brochure page for each partner institution. So if you navigate to our website, which I'll show you towards the end of this presentation, each of the partner institutions, we have a housing tab for that students can then consult students and parents. It's public information. You can consult to see the basics on what each institution has on offer. And sometimes we include like feedback from prior students on that housing tab. If we get feedback from students on neighborhoods that are good to live in, we'll put that on that housing tab. Subletting in New Orleans, Tulane does offer an off-campus housing portal. It is supported by Tulane Login, but students can go in and even list their properties if they want to sublet. So we found that to be a very good resource for students who want to sublet their housing. I should also mention that a lot of our exchange students use that website. So our incoming exchange students who need an apartment for only 1 semester and it needs to be furnished, that's exactly what they're looking for. So we really do try to connect our incoming students with this website in addition to our outbound students. Okay, how do you book travel? It is Tulane's travel management policy that all Tulane travelers, including students, book their travel via the central Concur travel system. And that also includes services from the World Travel Services travel agency. So in general, students need to go online. They can access the Concur system via Gibson. And in there is information on the contact information for World Travel Services. World Travel Services is a travel agency, so you can talk to a human being. It's definitely, I prefer to use World Travel Services. You do have to pay a per itinerary fee. I think it's $20 per itinerary. So if you need to make changes to an existing itinerary, you don't have to pay that $20 again. So it's a reasonable charge, in my opinion, to have a human being help you to navigate that Concur website. So if you book through World Travel Services, it automatically goes through Concur and it's registered with the university. Tulane found out during COVID that they really do need a central travel booking in order to support students in case of, necessary evacuation services or ticket changes due to various types of emergencies, individual emergencies, as well as larger emergencies like we experienced with the global pandemic. So we really do want to make sure that students know that they need to book through Concur or through World Travel Services, or both. It is important for especially families to know that the dates of the semesters, especially final exams, can be subject to change. Similar to Tulane, these are universities, they have final exam schedules, and sometimes, universities don't necessarily publish those exam schedules until mid-semester, or a professor might change an exam date. So it's not uncommon for students to have to rebook return flights after they determine when their exams will take place. All the more reason to use that Concur World Travel Services in order to book your flight so that you can more easily make a change. If a student cannot book via Concur, they don't offer exceptions except for maybe like using points. The student should email travel@tulane.edu to request an exception to the travel policy. And then they will either approve or assist the student in booking their travel. If the student cannot, book their travel through central booking, then they have to enroll themselves in the Crisis 24 Emergency Management Service. I'll talk about that service later, but also the travel office will give the student instructions on how to do that. Okay, let's take a little bit of a side trip and talk about passports and visas. All of our students must have a valid passport, and it should be valid for at least 6 months after the study abroad program end date. So what that means is if the program ends in December, their passport expiration date shouldn't be earlier than June of 2026. So most of our students, we've been checking this, most of our students are fine, but if you have a student who needs to renew it, they need to do it now, and they need to have it expedited. I think expedited service is actually up to 2 to 3 weeks this year, but that could change at any minute, depending upon the staffing levels at the Department of State. So it is important to have that current valid passport in order to travel. Sometimes students travel internationally while they have submitted their passport to an internet or a consular office to get a visa, in which case they might need a second US passport. We can provide students with basic advice on this. So if your student falls into that category, they should just come see us and we can point them in the right direction. Now, most countries do require that students have a student visa or a residence permit. We recommend going to that country's or consulate's websites to use most countries have nowadays a visa wizard. It's like a little bot or something like that that helps students figure out what type of visa they might need. Students must apply for their visas generally independently, except for some of our students going to Spain. I'll talk about that in the next slide. Requirements and timelines can vary widely depending on the country and the consulate, and those requirements can be very detailed. It's a governmental process, so we encourage students to read instructions carefully, and I usually tell them to read it like 3 or 4 times. It's like learning how to fill out tax documents. Basically, it's a new language. Lack of attention to detail can result in visa processing delays and or rejection of a student's application. That's very serious. So, we don't intervene we cannot intervene on behalf of a student. That's a country making a determination. And we cannot communicate with consulates to request information on updates. We really don't have sway with a country's immigration and or consular offices. So it's really important that the students are handling this themselves. We do try to provide as much advice to students as we can, but in general, we're trying to drive students to the primary sources, which is usually the website or the consulate with which they're gonna work. Now, for our many students going to Spain, we do have a large number of students going to Spain. We did offer a batch visa service this semester for the fall students. We had 59 students participate in it, and we submitted them to the BLS International Houston office. Once BLS has finished reviewing the applications, then they submit those applications to the Spanish Consulate of Houston. And at that point, it can take up to 8 weeks for the visa to be processed. And then the passport is shipped back to the student via UPS. The students put the address that they want that passport to be shipped back to them, and BLS is going to text them when the passport's on its way. So it's important that students are paying close attention to that and that they're ready to receive that package at that address when it's being sent. Some students have opted to apply via the Spanish consulate under which jurisdiction, the home address falls. Each consulate and BLS office can have different requirements and procedures. So we really are trying to make sure the students know that they need to check the appropriate consulate, like the New York consulate versus the San Francisco consulate can be very different. So it's important that students are getting that information directly from the consulate that they're going to be working with. All right, how about finances? Costs paid to Tulane are your Tulane tuition, so the base tuition for a full-time semester, the academic fee, which is $1,400, and the study abroad fee, which is $1,200. Students do not pay for the campus fees like the Riley Health Center, the student activities fee, and the student health center fee. Those are not paid to Tulane for this semester. Also, what's not paid to Tulane, but students do have to pay for, are things like your housing, your travel, your passport and visa costs, personal expenses, local transportation, classroom materials, those kinds of things are borne by the student. Billing works through accounts receivable. So in general, students are paying accounts receivable for their tuition, and that covers their academic exchange. And that allows their financial aid to flow like it normally does. Students do not pay tuition to the host institution. It's really important for them to know that. Sometimes students get a little confused about that. They do pay all those additional expenses like housing directly to whatever entity they're booking with. All of our students have also paid a $500 non-refundable commitment deposit. It's a deposit, so it's only non-refundable if a student withdraws from the program. So if students do attend the program and we confirm their attendance with the partner institution, that deposit is then returned to the student's account. So usually it hits the student account at some point during the fall semester if they're a fall student. All right, let's talk about academics. In general, so all students are going to be enrolled. They are already enrolled in a 12-credit placeholder course. All of the classes come back as study abroad classes, which have a unique class number. So all of the classes taken abroad in the fall semester have a 5380 course number. Those are all counted as general business electives as well as major elective credits in the B school. So if a student is, let's say, taking a management class, that would be Management 5380, and it would have the unique class title. And if they're a management major, it would count towards their major electives. If they're not a management major, it would count towards their general business electives. That's essentially how that works. They can have more than one management class. If they take 2 management classes, they have 2 separate titles, and those are counted as separate classes. Those are not Tulane equivalent 5,000 level classes. The 5380, 5390 class numbers are just generic study abroad class numbers. Study abroad students are not, business students are not allowed to take business core classes abroad. That is important. They're not taking the 30-10 classes, but they're also not taking any of their major core required classes, like in finance, that's, the investments in equities, as well as some other classes. Business minor and certificate classes generally cannot be taken abroad unless we get some sort of an exception. Non-business classes taken abroad may count towards non-business requirements upon approval by the corresponding department. So we do often have students who take classes outside of business, and that's perfectly fine as long as the host institution offers them. We assist the student with getting approval from the non-business department because we're not the authority on non-business academics. All students do submit a learning agreement to our office prior to the semester abroad, and then they file changes with us afterwards so that we can make sure that their classes are going to count towards their degree. We don't want them to make any mistakes and have any kind of unpleasant surprises after they come back. We do review the learning agreements, and their business academic counselor reviews it. That's their major advisor. Both offices sign off on those learning agreements so that we're making sure that the students get the best academic advice that we can give them. Students are enrolled in courses at the host institution. So at Tulane, they're enrolled in that placeholder credit, the 12 credit placeholder class. In the meantime, they're enrolled in actual classes at the host institution. So those enrollment systems, the dates, the procedures, they are very different from school to school. So it's important for each student to maintain the information on the host institution policies, procedures, the academic calendar, what their course offerings are. It is really important that the student is handling that directly with the host institution, because we cannot intervene in their policies, procedures, academic calendars, or anything like that. In general, we want the students to report any kind of changes in their academic schedule to our office. We have what we call a change form that they can submit to us. We do want them to maintain full-time enrollment while they're in the program. They are required to bring back at least 12 Tulane credits, it's Tulane equivalent credits. So depending on the host institution, those credit hours might look different on their host institution transcript. Students are also not allowed to take business classes on a pass, fail, or a satisfactory, unsatisfactory status. And we do like to make sure that students are thinking about the academic culture of where they're going, because that can be something that is often, like, they don't realize until they're there that things like the professor's expectations or the attendance requirements or the relationship between the student and the teacher can be very different. Oh, and the dress code can be very different. Sometimes, our dress code can be seen as being a little too casual for some other environments and some other business schools. So it is an important part of the learning process, and we encourage students to do a little bit of research into the academic culture at the host institution so that they can more easily adjust to those changes, because they're not only dealing with moving to a new country and getting new housing and setting up everything and learning how to do laundry and make phone calls, but also they're going to classes and they're trying to figure out how to make good grades and how they're going to study for a class. And that can also be quite an adjustment for students. So let's talk about health and safety. As families, a lot of times what we worry about are the big things, right? What we see as the big things. What if there's a huge health emergency, like a global pandemic? What if there's a military coup or a terrorist attack? So we think about those things as like the big emergencies that we might need to worry about. And then we're not thinking as much about the individual stuff. But what we've actually found is that the stuff that looks so little on that first triangle is actually the majority of what our students have to deal with in terms of their health and safety. So, the culture shock, the dehydration, which is important for our students, taking care of themselves, practicing, good habits, making good choices, and also learning how not to be too homesick that you can't, participate in your program. So really, those are the things that we see most often for our students, really being something um, that impedes their progress. And so we try to provide as much support to them, and families can often be a super important support system. It is important for us to remember that even positive stress is stress. Studying abroad is that once in a lifetime experience. It's really exciting, but it's also extremely overwhelming. And so practicing self-care and being aware of the cycles that we go through help us to keep those things in perspective. And it's good sometimes for family members to be able to decipher that and to help their student through these pretty complex emotional phases that they can go through. Culture shock, I'm sure many of you have seen the culture shock wave model. It is normal. It happens to everyone. It happens to me all the time. I used to travel every year and go through it every year and be surprised that I was still, as an expert, um, going through these phases of, you get there and it's just so wonderful and everything's perfect. And then the dust settles a little bit and then you get into that like, oh, why don't they do things this way? Or why can't I communicate properly? And it gets kind of frustrating. And then you start to sort of adjust and then you accept and then you go through it all over again. Um, and so recognizing those phases can be a really important part of, dealing with your own emotions. So it's normal to have those emotions, but it's also helpful to know how to deal with them and to make it through. Sometimes, however, mental health issues can arise when our students are abroad. Sometimes our students, have already dealt with mental health before going abroad, but sometimes mental health can kind of crop up while the student is abroad. It is really important that if their mental health is very much, like it is something that's very much of a higher concern, that they ask for help or that you ask for help on their behalf. Um, they can contact the local university staff. Generally, our partners have resources for our students, but also they can contact Crisis 24, which then puts them in touch with the Tulane emergency tree, basically. And we can help respond to the student in emergency situations. We're going to talk more about Crisis 24. Got lots to talk about. Now, our students are all covered with insurance that's provided by Chubb. It's a master policy. You can visit the International Health Insurance webpage for full details on the policy benefits. This coverage does not, however, replace the student's domestic health insurance, such as T-SHIP or Blue Cross Blue Shield or something like that. So students do still need to keep their domestic health insurance policies active while they're abroad. It is very important that they keep that in case they have to come home or, if they have anything that would be covered stateside. This is the basic coverage for the health insurance plan. They have a $0 deductible, excuse me, and their expenses are covered 100%. Of course, they can't do like regular checkups and things like this. This needs to be a sickness that they get while they're abroad, or an accident, or anything that happens to them. But they are covered with this plan. It is full coverage. They can download their insurance card, and so I have this QR code here for students to do so. We encourage them to do so that they have this information, but certainly parents and family members can also have this information at the ready in case they need to contact Crisis 24 on behalf of a student. Like I said before, students need to maintain domestic health insurance so that, if students get T-SHIP, which is this Tulane Student Health Insurance Program, they can do that. Or if they get it waived, they should do that as well and keep their domestic health insurance. Now, how do students access medical care abroad? The quickest and best way to do it is using that Crisis 24 app hotline. It looks like this. They press that blue button and they get to talk to somebody with Crisis 24, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in order to get appropriate health support. As an example, I had a student in Spain a couple of weeks ago, just needed to see the doctor because she wasn't feeling well. She got in touch with Crisis 24. They helped her arrange for medical help to see a doctor, and they alerted us, and we kind of were watchful, and she saw the doctor and she got treatment and she was fine. So it can be for a basic medical need or, you know, something that's more emergent. Now, what can you do about your students' health and safety? At this point, you can begin researching on-site support services. You can research local conditions that may impact health. Encourage your student to report any and all Goldman Center accommodations to their host university when submitting their secondary application. That's something that sometimes students don't think of until they're there, but they really do need to declare their accommodations so that our partners can try to provide similar accommodations. You know, the Americans with Disabilities Act does only apply within the United States, but most of our partners do provide reasonable accommodations for students. And it just depends on the partner institution as to how much they can provide. So usually students need to communicate directly with the partner institution about their accommodations. We also suggest that you plan a method to stay in touch with the student's healthcare providers, such as therapists, primary care physicians, or specialists. And some countries have special medication laws. So if your student is taking a medication that might be illegal in another country, you might want to do a little bit of research. The one that comes to mind at first is that Japan restricts stimulants. And so Adderall is a medication that is not legal in Japan. And so sometimes doing a little bit of research, you can help your student. So that those are ways that you can help your student. Now, in terms of, you know, while the student is abroad, everybody should stay aware of world news. Definitely things can change on a dime. Practice situational awareness. We try to get our students to do this. We want them to monitor their self-care and remember those culture shock and adjustment waves, trying to recognize when that's coming, you know, coming to pass. And remembering that there are Tulane resources to students while they go abroad. So those include, you know, the WELL, Title IX and Campus Climate Survey, Goldman Support Services, Student Support Services, as well as our office. So again, before they go, we want them to download the Crisis 24 app, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute. We want students to check that travel.state.gov website. That's the U.S. Department of State for country information, travel advisories, helpful information. And we also require that students enroll in the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program with the U.S. Department of State called STEP. That's after they know their local contact details. So they enroll in STEP and they provide documentation of that to us. And that allows the Department of State to provide support to U.S. citizens in case of a large crisis. So should there be something where they need to evacuate U.S. citizens, they would have your students' local contact information. All right, Crisis 24. So when students book via Concur and/or World Travel Services, they're automatically enrolled in Crisis 24. Crisis 24 is an international emergency assistance program that provides 24/7 medical, security, and emotional assistance to Tulane travelers while they're abroad. They provide a lot of different types of support, such as pre-travel help, locating and scheduling appointments, replacing prescription medication, providing medical and/or security advice, the emergency and urgent medical assistant, inpatient and outpatient case management, medical evacuation and repatriation, natural disaster, political and or military situation evacuation. So Crisis 24 really is our go-to for assistance. Again, if they book through Concur, they're automatically enrolled in Crisis 24. Now, we want all students to download the Crisis 24 app, and that then it does require a Tulane login. So if family members download it, you probably don't have access to the parts that are offered via the app, such as the local emergency contacts, the 24-hour hotline, the safety check-in. So if there's something going on, students can say, hey, I'm safe. You can also, students can send a silent crisis signal. So if they're in an emergency and cannot speak on the phone, they can press the hotline button. And they can also enable location services as well as push notifications for alerts that they can get to their phone. So for example, I have alerts set up with Crisis 24 from some of our, main partner locations as well as for New Orleans, Louisiana. So I get Crisis 24 updates sent to me regularly. All right, so we want our students to get and stay involved while they're abroad. Students are going to meet other exchange students from around the world. This is generally the sort of the most rewarding thing that our students report to us over and over again. And we also encourage them to join student groups or participate in social events at the host institution. Usually our hosts will have like an orientation that students attend before they start the semester. That's when they get to know the other exchange students. And a lot of times they do, like social events surrounding that. So we encourage our students to participate and to be involved. And then they make friends from all around the world. I do have this video embedded. I wanted to take a couple minutes to show it. So if it's okay, I'm going to try to show it.
Yeah, my name is Jacqueline Oliveros. I come from the Philippines. I am currently studying business administration and sociology here at Copenhagen Business School. Well, it is my dream to study abroad, and I was looking for different university here at Copenhagen. And while researching for universities, I found that Copenhagen Business School is the kind of university that I want to get in because it's so international and it is renowned not only in Copenhagen but also outside of Denmark. Well, a lot of people ask me if I like it here in Copenhagen, and I would always say I love Denmark and I love Danish people. Well, I've been active before in the Philippines. I do some hiking and mountaineering, but here you don't need a mountain to do active stuff because I feel that in Denmark it's less pollution, and there are a lot of different activities in Copenhagen as well. You can do climbing and play squash, and I think those are the things that I wasn't able to do in the Philippines because it's also like a very busy life in the Philippines. It's like a rat race. Like you have to really work hard to survive. But here, most of my classmates, they are enrolled in a gym. And you don't see that in the Philippines. I mean, we just eat and eat until we get fat. But most of my classmates, considering that they're only like 17, 18, they were already aware that they have to take care of themselves and they have to eat healthy. And being a student is not only like reading and keeping yourself confined in a space and just read all the time. For me, it's some sort of a utopian society because they seem to get it right. They have a life-work balance, and it's very rare that you see them work in overtime because they have to go to their family and they have to enjoy their life. And I think that's the best thing about here. I think studying abroad is one of the most important thing that I have ever done in my life because in a way it would help me have a better chance for my career in the future.
Oops. Sorry. So you can see that's a great example of a student going to a partner institution, getting involved, and enjoying their experience and really making the most of it.
Yeah, mine.
Oops. And then when they get back to Tulane, we like to encourage them to get involved with our exchange students. We bring in over 100 exchange students pretty much every semester, definitely every fall. And then in the spring, it's usually between 60 and 80 students. So we do try to encourage our students to get involved with the exchange students. They can join the Global Guides program, and they can attend the weekly Global Cafe. We have various ways for them to get involved. We do culture hours, coffee hours and things like that, for our students to interact with the exchange students as much as possible. So we like to encourage our students to stay involved and to help each other out, after they get back. So that is the conclusion of my presentation. I think we'll start with some questions and answers.
Yes.
All right.
So a lot of the questions kind of at the very beginning were answered. A individual asked about health insurance. So just to kind of quickly answer that, they'll be having Chubb health insurance, and they still need to maintain their domestic health insurance. Again, a question about, is it obligatory to book through World Travel Services? Yes. As Mary said, unless they're, your student can request an exception in cases of miles or points, but otherwise students need to book through Concur. Other questions about tuition, and fees. So Mary, this person asks, they have to pay for tuition, kind of what things do they not have to pay for?
Right, so they pay Tulane tuition and the academic and study abroad fees, but they pay directly for housing and those sorts of things. The on-campus fees that they don't pay for are the Riley Center, Student Health Center, and campus activities fees. Yeah, so, and I see a question about the disparity between the cost of Tulane's tuition versus the host institution. This is not a monetary exchange. This is a person exchange. So we are sending our students and receiving their students. So it's not something where we're sending money overseas.
A person asked about grades factoring into the GPA.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy to answer this, or would you
Sure.
prefer, Mary?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so the grades a Freeman student receives do not impact their GPA. However, they will show up on the Tulane transcript, so there is that academic record. There a student or a person also asked about contact for Chubb health insurance. It's on the slide and we'll be providing that. This webinar has been recorded. Do students ever find that a majority of classes they want are full? That can happen. Mary, would you like to elaborate?
Well, similar to how it happens at Tulane, sometimes students do find that classes can be full at the partner institution. So generally they have to, maybe change their schedules. It is important for students to be flexible in terms of classes that they're requesting at the partner institution. They can't all get classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or they might have classes early in the morning. It is important that they exercise some flexibility in the way that they deal with registration at the host institution. So we can never promise that students are going to get exactly the classes that they want, similar to how it is at Freeman.
Yep. I have someone asking about their student going to Vienna. And this person is asking about classes going from September to January. So for Vienna University, the student needs to seek out classes with final exams that take place in December. So that's one of those schools that the student just needs to be observant when selecting classes.
Yeah, Vienna publishes that list of classes and makes it
Yep.
available to students. And it's usually plenty for students to choose from.
A parent also asked, how many credits can student take max? Would you like to take that, Mary?
Yeah, in general, it's 18, but if a student brings back more than 18, then we would just, work with, probably with NTC to allow an overload.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really recommend that because students are dealing with so much. Um,
Right.
so yeah, in general, we see students transferring back usually around 12 to 15 credits.
Mm-hmm. Um, Someone asked about like how is housing paid for in Spain? So our students go through independent housing. So if they're renting an apartment, they would pay as normal, as if someone were renting an apartment. Um,
I saw a question about, do students going to Spain have to apply for a visa? Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And sorry if my links are not good, but basically if you Google, Spanish consulate in your local area, you can find it. And I'll check the links in the presentation.
We have someone mentioning that their student has merit and need-based scholarships with respect to room and board overseas. Can that be applied? Most likely not.
No, typically the room and board is not applicable outside of Tulane. So that would be a conversation that the student could have with the financial aid counselor, because if it's not tied to Tulane housing and can be used for independent housing, then that possibly could work. But that's a question for the financial aid office.
Hmm. Another individual asked about students having time to travel, um, any restrictions with travel, or if programs provide like a holiday or a period where they could travel.
You
Yeah.
answer that?
Uh,
Oh,
I can I can take it. Sorry.
go ahead.
So it kind of depends on the school. Some of our schools in Australia will have a semester that starts in July and like ends in October, November. Um, I will say typically our partners in Western Europe in the fall, they may not necessarily get as much time to travel. In fact, that's another reason we like to encourage students to study abroad in the spring, as they usually get a spring break, like a week or two, where in the fall, abroad they don't have Thanksgiving. There could be a fall break depending on the school, but that's going to be posted on their public academic calendar. So mostly weekends and depending on how the student's schedule lies. Okay, got some more questions. Um,
I saw a couple of questions about the visa application for Spain, I believe it is. So
mhm,
multiple entry is important so that the student can leave and return um, to Spain. And the visa application is asking for an address in Spain.
mhm,
If the student doesn't have one, then they use the address of the host institution. I'll say as well that the students have access to a box folder where we have a cheat sheet for that Spanish visa application form that we do encourage students to use. That box folder link is public, so the student can share it with their family members, so that you can see our sample documents for the Spanish visa application specifically.
yes. There's someone asking about kind of themselves as the parent receiving information about studying abroad, that they can only see things through Gibson. Is there a better way for parents to navigate through this process and not rely on our children? So I'll partially respond, and Mary, feel free to elaborate. Um, so for Freeman students going on Freeman exchanges in their portal, there is an option for them to opt into sending their parent or having us send their parent a parent guide. Um, so that provides more information. And as Mary has on screen, there is also the information publicly available on our website. Um, so there's that. That's the best way to kind of get the information you need.
Yeah, so here you can search for the program on our website. This is public information. So for example, if your student is going to Bocconi University in Milan, you can see the general information about the host institution, including like how the credit transfer and the grade transfer works. We give little snippets on academic culture. We list the sample courses so that students can see basically if they take diversity management and policy, that's going to transfer in as a management course. We have the housing information that I was talking about, including like students' recommendations for neighborhoods. We have the cost breakdown that generally maps out the billable to Tulane. This actually needs to be updated for fall 2025, but estimated costs of attendance as well, including that students can even put in, they can change these amounts and they can put in any kind of scholarship they might have, and that changes their bottom line. So they can pretty accurately estimate what a semester will cost on a study abroad program. Public, this is a public website. So you're welcome to look at your student's program page. I'll say also, if you download the fact sheet from the partner, you can see their publication of their information. That can also be extremely helpful for the student and for the family.
Yes.
So I encourage you to visit the website.
Yes. We have someone asking about where they can find the box folder with the Spanish visa information.
Your student can share that with you.
Mhm.
It's important that they're going through their portal and that they're reading these items. Part of this process is that the students have to learn how to, I say, quote unquote, adult a little more than they might already be doing in their transition to life at Tulane. So it is very important that they're reading through those materials, and yeah, they have that information and they can share it with you. Worst case scenario, you can email us at freemanabroad@tulane.edu and we can send it to you. But we really like to encourage our students to be the curators of their experience. I will say also for general program information, you can click here and you will get information on, the programs, eligibility and application, general cost and funding information, academic information about the study abroad, the Freeman Abroad programs, accommodations and housing. And then when students choose to go outside of the B school but still want business credit, that's what this page is for, this tab. So again, you just go to our home, which is freemanabroad.tulane.edu, and click on this top green banner, and you can get all the general program information. So hopefully that can help you navigate finding information about the programs and about the the general program stuff. So.
I think we can probably answer one last question.
Okay.
An individual asked about the Austrian visa, and they mentioned it, if it's less than 90 days, then you don't need a visa to be in Austria. But it's about actually the start and end date of the program. Um, So even if your student is traveling on the weekends and they're not physically in Austria for 90 days, it's about the period of study and of the program. So they will need a student visa.
And definitely they should consult with the host institution as to, how best to manage that.
Mhm.
Because every country is different. And so usually we defer to the host institution. We try to give students as much information. We look on the country's website, but we also defer to the host institution.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I
th-
think that's probably it.
Yep.
thank you so much, Mary and Lauren. And as I mentioned in the beginning, this is being recorded and we'll send the recording out as well as the PowerPoints that Mary provided us with. And so just be on the lookout for those in the next day or two. Thank you so much and have a great night.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Kat and Benny.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.